In the midst of the Great Depression, a down-on-his-luck repairman named Charles Darrow invented the Monopoly board game. It became one of the best-selling games of all time, and Darrow retired a millionaire. The inspiring story was printed in every Monopoly box sold for decades. But it wasn't exactly true. The real history of Monopoly is much more complex, and it all started with Lizzie McGee in Washington, D.C. In the 1890s, McGee was a feminist writer, actress, and board game enthusiast. She was also a dedicated disciple of economist Henry George and his single tax theory. George argued that landowners should be heavily taxed, but that all other taxes should be abolished. A single tax on the value of land, he wrote, would equalize the distribution of wealth. To Lizzie, a new board game was the perfect way to garner support for the idea. In 1904, she patented the Landlord's game. It looked and played a lot like present-day Monopoly, but had two different sets of rules. The first was a Monopoly-style game where players tried to buy up properties and bankrupt opponents. The second emphasized the communal benefits of the single tax system. Playing both ways would be instructive, she wrote. Let the children once see clearly the gross injustice of our present land system, and when they grow up, the evil will soon be remedied. Despite her high hopes, Lizzie's game did not become a commercial success. But it did develop a following, especially amongst progressives. Over the next 30 years, the game spread throughout the Northeast and Midwest, tweaked and shared on homemade game boards with word-of-mouth instructions. In the 1920s, it reached Atlantic City, New Jersey, where a community of Quakers revamped the board to include iconic locations like Boardwalk and Park Place. Players were drawn to the Monopoly-style rules, and over time, McGee's single tax message faded, along with any recognition of her as the game's creator. In fact, no one seemed quite sure who had invented the game in the first place. Charles Darrow saw an opportunity. After learning the game from a friend, he had an artist design graphics and started selling the game as Monopoly in Philadelphia department stores. The sales caught the attention of the Parker Brothers Game Company, which purchased the game from Darrow in the spring of 1935. It was a huge hit, and as sales skyrocketed, Parker Brothers moved to protect its investment by buying up the rights to similar games. Most importantly, that meant Lizzie McGee's Landlord's game, which she had updated with a new patent. In November of 1935, company founder George Parker traveled to Arlington, Virginia, and visited McGee at her home in the Clarendon neighborhood. He offered her $500 for her Landlord's game patent, and agreed to publish that game along with two others Lizzie had created. Then in her late 60s and going by her married name of Elizabeth McGee Phillips, she was, at first, thrilled. Her single tax message would find the wide audience it deserved. As she wrote after the deal was signed, "Farewell, my beloved brainchild. I regretfully part with you, but I am giving you to another who will be able to do more for you than I have done. I charge you, do not swerve from your high purpose and ultimate mission." Sadly for Lizzie, it was not to be. The version of the Landlord's game which Parker Brothers released in 1939 was hardly the societal reform lesson she had envisioned. Her single tax rules were left out, and the company failed to generate interest. The game flopped. Meanwhile, Monopoly grew into a global phenomenon, a celebration of cutthroat capitalism and the land speculation that Lizzie so despised. It made Parker Brothers rich and Charles Darrow famous. But for Lizzie, there were no royalties and little recognition. Just the $500 for her patent. For more surprising DC area history, check out our Boundary Stones playlist and subscribe to WETA PBS on YouTube.